这个故事如果你听起来不累，那么你的英语能力在美国日常生活是完全够用的，对别人表达自己的想法也是没有问题的。像学母语一样学英语，我们开始吧。
Let me tell you a story about a family, their delicious food, and the big changes in their lives. In the busy city of Taipei, in Taiwan, lived a man named Chu. Mr. Chu was a truly amazing chef, one of the best. Years ago, he cooked in big, famous restaurants. Now, he was older, and his wife had passed away. He lived in a traditional house with his 3 grown-up daughters. Every Sunday, without fail, Chu would spend the entire day in his kitchen. You could hear the quick chop, chop, chop of his knife, the sizzle of food in hot woks, and smell the most wonderful aromas drifting through the house. He would prepare a giant feast with so many different dishes, beautiful fish, tender chicken, flavorful pork, and all kinds of colorful vegetables. But there was a secret sadness in Chu's life. Even though he could still cook these incredible meals from memory and skill, he had mostly lost his sense of taste. Imagine a great painter who could no longer see colors clearly. That's how it was for Chu. The joy of tasting his own creations was gone, and it left a little hole in his heart. He made all this amazing food, but a part of him felt distant from it. His 3 daughters were very different from each other. The oldest daughter was Jia Zhen. She was a chemistry teacher at a high school. Jia Zhen had once been deeply hurt by a love affair that ended badly. After that, she turned to Christianity with great devotion and decided that romance was not for her. She dressed in plain, dark clothes, rarely wore makeup, and often seemed a little serious or lost in thought. She told people she wanted a quiet life, but sometimes a flicker of loneliness could be seen in her eyes. She felt like her life was already settled and perhaps a bit dull. The middle daughter was Jia Qian. She was very successful and worked as an executive for a big airline company. Jia Qian was smart, stylish, and independent. She was perhaps the most like her father in spirit and in her secret talent for cooking. She often felt a bit restless, wanting to break free from the old family traditions and live life on her own terms. She was even thinking about buying her own modern apartment. Her love life was a bit complicated. She had an on-again, off-again relationship with an old boyfriend, and sometimes felt confused about what she truly wanted. The youngest daughter was Jia Ning. She was a sweet and innocent young woman working at a fast food restaurant that was a bit like Wendy's. She was still figuring out life, and her world was full of youthful curiosity. She was quieter than Jia Qian, but more open to new things than Jia Zhen initially seemed to be. Every Sunday, the grand dinner was served. The table would be groaning under the weight of all the magnificent food. But often, these dinners were filled with a heavy silence. The daughters would eat, sometimes making small talk, but the deeper feelings, the important things in their hearts, often went unsaid. It felt like everyone was waiting for something, or perhaps avoiding something. Old Chu would preside over the meal, but his inability to taste cast a subtle shadow. Jia Qian, with her own keen sense for food, sometimes noticed when a dish wasn't quite right, and it worried her. Life in the Chu household started to bubble with changes. One day, Jia Zhen, the quiet chemistry teacher, began receiving romantic letters from what she claimed was a secret admirer at her school. She seemed to blossom a little, a hint of a smile playing on her lips more often. Her sisters were very curious. Then, young Jianing had some surprising news. She had a good friend at work, and this friend had a boyfriend. But, as things sometimes happen, Jianing and her friend's boyfriend, Guolun, started to develop feelings for each other. It was a bit awkward, but their feelings were genuine. Soon, Jianing made an announcement at one of the Sunday dinners. Her voice was a little shaky but determined. "I have something to tell everyone," she said. "Guolun and we're going to have a baby, and we're getting married." The news sent ripples of surprise around the table. So young, so quick. But Chu simply listened, his face unreadable. Meanwhile, Jia Qian was pushing forward with her own plans. She was serious about buying that new apartment. Her relationship with her ex-boyfriend Raymond got tangled up again, and she also met a kind, artistic man named Li Kai. Her heart felt pulled in different directions. She longed for independence, but also for a true connection. She also faced a big disappointment when an investment she made to buy the apartment went bad, and she lost a lot of money. She felt foolish and upset. Now remember Jia Zhen's secret admirer? It turned out, sadly, that she had been writing those letters to herself out of loneliness and a deep wish to be loved. But then something real happened. A new, energetic volleyball coach joined her school. He was loud, cheerful, and saw a special spark in the reserved Jia Zhen. He pursued her with honest enthusiasm, and Jia Zhen slowly opened her heart. At another Sunday dinner, she stood up, her face glowing with a true, happy light. "I also have an announcement," she declared. "The volleyball coach and I are getting married." This time, her joy was real and infectious. She started wearing brighter clothes and even singing church hymns with gusto around the house. So, two of the daughters were starting new chapters. Jia Ning moved out to live with Guo Lun, preparing for their baby. Jia Zhen was busy planning her wedding. The big family house began to feel a little quieter, a little emptier. Through all this, Chu continued his Sunday cooking ritual. He also started doing something new and kind. There was a lively, talkative woman named Liang, who was a family friend. Liang had a divorced daughter named Jin Rong, and Jin Rong had a young daughter of her own, little Shan Shan. Chu began preparing beautiful, nutritious lunch boxes for Shan Shan, and would often take them to her at school. He was very gentle and patient with the little girl. Jin Rong, who was often struggling and sad as a single mother, was very grateful. Everyone, including Chu's daughters, began to suspect that perhaps Chu was developing an affection for Liang, Shan Shan's grandmother. It seemed like a sensible match. Then came a Sunday dinner that no one would ever forget. The air was thick with anticipation. Chu seemed more thoughtful than usual. Finally, he cleared his throat. "I have made some important decisions," he announced, his voice steady. "First, I have sold this old house." His daughters stared at him, stunned. Sell their childhood home. Where would they all go? "And second," Chu continued, taking a deep breath, "I am going to get married." Jia Qian thought, "It must be Liang, Shan Shan's grandmother. He's been spending time with their family." But Chu looked directly at his daughters and said, "I have asked Jin Rong to be my wife." Jin Rong, Shan Shan's mother, the much younger divorced woman. The shock was like a thunderclap. Jia Zhen gasped. Jia Qian couldn't speak. Jia Ning's eyes were wide. "But, Dad," Jia Qian finally stammered. "Jin Rong? Why?" "We found happiness together," Chu explained simply. "She and Shan Shan bring me joy. I want to begin a new life. And," he added, a small, almost shy smile appearing, "my sense of taste, it's starting to come back. Being with her, feeling happy, it's helping me taste again." Life settled into new patterns. Jia Zhen was happy and content with her boisterous, loving husband. Jia Ning welcomed her baby boy and embraced motherhood with her husband. Old Chu and Jin Rong, along with the delighted Shan Shan, moved into a new home, full of laughter and new beginnings. Chu seemed lighter, happier, and indeed, his enjoyment of food was returning. Jia Qian, feeling a deep connection to her family's past, made a bold move. She used her own money to buy back her father's old house. She didn't want to let go of all those memories. One Sunday, she decided to host the family dinner. She spent the whole day cooking, just as her father used to. She prepared a beautiful feast. Her father, Jin Rong, and Shan Shan came. Her sisters and their families came. Jia Qian had made a special soup, one of her father's old recipes. She watched nervously as Chu picked up his spoon and took a sip. His eyes widened. He paused, then took another sip. A slow smile spread across his face, a smile of pure, unadulterated pleasure. He looked at Jia Qian, his eyes shining with emotion. "Daughter," he said, his voice thick with feeling, "this soup, I can taste it. I can taste every single ingredient. It's perfect." In that moment, sharing the food she had made, Chu's sense of taste fully returned. He held Jia Qian's hand tightly. No grand speeches were needed. The love, the connection, the beautiful bond between father and daughter was all there in that shared taste, in that warm kitchen. The family Chu was different now, spread out in new homes, with new members. But the connections remained. The tradition of sharing food, of sharing lives continued. The eating, the drinking, the love between men and women, and the enduring love of family, it all found new ways to flourish. And that, in itself, was a beautiful, true, and good thing.
你太棒了，你学完了全部内容。你离英语自由又近了一步，下个视频见。